Welcome to the Stay Paid podcast, where we help agents and entrepreneurs master the latest business trends to unlock growth and create a life of freedom. Brought to you by Reminder Media.
This episode is brought to you by Wix.com. Digital marketers, this one's for you. I've got about 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here's a few things you can do in 30 seconds or less when you manage projects on Wix Studio. Work in sync with your team on one canvas. Reuse templates, widgets, and sections across sites. Create a client kit for seamless handovers. And leverage best-in-class SEO defaults across all your Wix sites. Time's up, but the list keeps on going. Step into Wix Studio to see more. Welcome to Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree.
And our special guest today is Ellis Suazo. Ellis is the co-founder of the Wealth Academy, a leading coaching company for men and women who want to impact their community through financial education while increasing their income to six figures and beyond. Ellis, welcome to Stay Paid.
All right. Thank you for having me this morning, guys.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you. Ellis, I'm excited, man, to talk to you because you've built a successful insurance agency and recruited a bunch of people. You're coaching people now. I would love for you to just give a little bit of your background to the audience for those who don't know you, how you got into insurance and built up what you've done today. And then we could dive into, traits of success.
Sure, man. Sure. So, originally, guys, I'm from New Orleans. So born and raised in New Orleans. Was raised by a single mom. I actually became a teen parent at 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so pretty much everyone kind of told me, life is over, man. It's going to be rough for you. But I fought my way through college. So I got through a college called Southern University in Baton Rouge, where I got an electrical engineering degree. And I moved to Chicago after I graduated, fought my way up through the corporate ranks, worked up that corporate ladder. I was successful for what most people would say, earning over 150 grand a year as a senior consultant. But I was finding myself working 60, 70-hour work weeks, working in remote locations, going away from home a lot of time. And then one day I asked my VP of the company, who I really admired at the time, I said, hey, man, how do I become you? I'm young, I'm still highly ambitious, man. How do I become you? And he said, well, Ellis, if you go get yourself another certification, which can take 4 to 8 years to get, or give me another 20, 30 years of your life, then maybe one day you can become me.
Woo.
Said, got it. Okay, cool. And so with that being said, I just...
After that at all, or did he lose his appeal at that point?
It's still a very respectable band. That gentleman did a lot for me while I was in the industry, but he gave me a vision of what was to come. And so I made a decision to start searching elsewhere. And eventually I was introduced to a gentleman, and I was able to get into the insurance industry. And that was 6 years ago.
Okay, 6 years ago. And where are you at today? Like, how big is the agency? Give us kind of a picture of where you're at today over the last 6 years.
Sure. So, man, I started just like anybody else, man. I had no previous experience in the industry. I had no sales experience. My wife kind of laughed at me when she said I wanted to join and do something different. And she was like, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. And, 6 years later, we now have an office in Chicago. They're still there. We've started a brand new office here in Atlanta this year, 12,000 square feet office for our agents and brokers. We have a strong presence in one of the biggest offices in Dallas. There with our agents. We've licensed over 1,500 people in the last 6 years and growing.
Yeah, man.
And several of our agency owners are now earning multiple six figures.
Yeah, get out of here. So you're a master recruiter and obviously master motivator. I'm curious because you have on your shirt right there, the Wealth Academy, which I know is this kind of coaching platform and program that you're doing. Can you share a little bit about why you believe you've made it to where you're at? Not everybody gets in and 6 years later has licensed 1,500 people. Why have you made it to where you're at?
Well, first thing I would say is, in all honesty, just my faith in Christ and always believing that you can do something more, right? That's one. Two is going to be not being afraid to jump out the pond, right? There's bigger bodies of water, man. And so many people get stuck by the golden handcuffs of corporate America. I was just like, I don't want that to be me. Three was finding mentorship. And so I was remember one of my old bosses told me, say, Ellis, you need a mentor. And I was like, man, where do you find a mentor? Where you go to the yellow pages, Google? Like, where do you find a mentor at? And, but I never forgot that. And so that stayed with me. And so that was big. And so eventually I was introduced to a gentleman named Matt Sapala, who's my mentor, who mentored me to a point of, I earned my first six figures in my first 10 months in business part-time.
Wow.
And then from there, I was able to be introduced to his mentor, which still is our mentor, Patrick David, in the company. And so just that mentorship gives you the opportunity to grow and evolve past what you understand and what you know. And so those are the three things right there, right? And four, I'm going to say desire, because you can't teach that. Person has to come to the table with desire. And from there, we can go.
I tend to agree with you. We hire a ton of salespeople. And unfortunately, I find that like where I fall down in recruiting salespeople for Reminder Media is trying to sort out where the motivation is, meaning like what gets them to be hungry, what gets them to have that drive. What have you found in like your interviewing or when you're meeting people? What do you ask them or what do you look for to try to hone out like, yeah, this person has drive where this person doesn't?
It's really about their why they want to do something different. It's finding a pain point. It's, because people say, oh, I want to make more money. Yeah, everybody wants to make more money. But why do you want to make more money? Oh, because I want to take care of my family. I want financial freedom, right? Everybody says that. I want to take care of my family, financial freedom. Okay, cool. Why? Why do you want to do that? Well, because, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, cool. How does it make you feel that you're living paycheck to paycheck? Well, it doesn't feel good that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, well, what are you going to do different about your situation, right? Because I don't see anybody else in your corner right now that's trying to help you get out the situation, do you? No, I don't. Do you have anybody in your corner that has a blueprint on how to get you out of your situation? No, I don't. By the way, I come from your situation, come from that background. So it's relatability and diving deeper into the questions to see why they want to do something. Because if it's just surface level, there's no connection, then we can't do anything because you're going to get hit with objections in sales, right? First time somebody tell you no, or maybe you got a little perseverance and you got 10 no's and you're like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do this, right? And if I don't have any connection or that why to say, hey, here's the reason why you said you wanted to join, or this is why you wanted to take this opportunity, then we're going to most likely lose the individual anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I find the 5 whys. Where you literally go and you ask the first why, but their goal is to get 5 whys deep. Because once you get to the 5th why, you actually might be getting to the heart of somebody and really calling somebody out on their interview when they say something. We actually interviewed a executive assistant just recently. And they gave an answer, and one of our recruiters, our HR director, was interviewing them. And I watched back the interview. They said, well, that, wasn't a very sincere answer. That was very political. And you could just see the shock on the person's face, like, oh my goodness, I just got called out. But guess what happened? It went from a fake interview. When I say fake, surface level is what I mean, not fake in that aspect, but surface level, to actually getting real. It challenged her to actually be real. She got a little bit more emotional because he challenged her, and it ended up being a great interview, and she's a great candidate in the process. But it takes that ability to go deeper.
Hey, Stay Paid listeners, as you guys know, we do a ton of content with the folks over at BAM Media. In fact, Luke is a featured creator over there. Well, they are hosting the real estate event of the year this October. You'll hear from some of the rockstar podcast guests that we've had, like Ricky Carruth, the Broke Agent, Byron Lazine, and the one and only Luke Acree himself. To get 25% off your ticket, visit bammania.com and use code REMINDER at checkout. That's BAMMania, BAMMANIA.com, and use code REMINDER at checkout. Can't wait to see you there.
So talk to me a little bit about why you think agents fail, right? You've licensed 1,500. I'm assuming the majority maybe aren't top producers, but maybe you've beat the numbers, the statistics, but normally it's like 20% of those actually are successful. What is it that is causing agents to fail? What is the number one thing you're seeing?
Discipline is going to be one of them. You know, like we said, if they come to the table with the desire, that's great, right? But the discipline and the work ethic, and so it's really switching. So in my trainings, man, I really talk about, yo, for the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life, depending on how old you are, you've been taught to do one thing. That's to be a worker, right? Our education system is designed for you to be a worker. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer like I was, you're trained to be a worker. It takes a different grit. It takes a different skill set to now transition to entrepreneurship and say, now I'm dependent upon myself and my skill base to make an income, right? Versus working for somebody where you get paid every 2 weeks or every week, right? You do just enough so that you don't get fired, right? And they give you just enough so that you don't quit. And here in this world, right, whatever you do, whether it's insurance or any type of sales industry, any entrepreneurship, right, you now are responsible for your success, right? And you do need help. And so I think that's the biggest difference of why people become successful and why they don't, is just really switching that mindset of, I'm being provided for. Now I have to provide, right? I have to go home.
Yeah, it's funny. People will show up and work 40 hours a week for somebody else, but they won't show up and work 40 hours a week for themselves. You see that all the time. People get into insurance or real estate, these entrepreneurship gigs, and they don't show up. They don't treat it like a real job. They don't wake up early and get to the office by 8, even if the office is their living room or whatever, and work 8 hours. Like, you should go from working 40 hours a week for somebody else to honoring and working 60 hours a week for yourself to get it going. But people don't have that almost like respect for themselves, or they don't see it that way, which is why they fail. And it's interesting. The more and more people I meet, the more and more I just realize, man, some people have it, some people don't. And I don't think everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. I don't know what you think about that. I think you have intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs, but I don't think everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement right there, because the entrepreneur is always looking to, how do I invest back into myself? How do I invest back into the business so that it can continue to grow and compound? What system do I need to create next, right? Who's the next person I need to hire? Who's the next talent I need to bring on board, right? Typically, people are saying, when am I going to get paid so I can make some money and go spend it, right? So there's that mindset too as well. But entrepreneurs are also very important, because entrepreneur shares the vision of the entrepreneur to help push that too as well, right? But majority of people won't even reach the level of entrepreneur, which is really about teamwork. That's why we love a lot of people who've played organized sports before, because most people, right, understand that it's the team before me, right?
Yes.
And so, like, we watch a lot of documentaries. One that we've been watching on Netflix is Receiver, right? You can see, even though a lot of different people are talented, some people are self-centered, focused on themselves, their stats, what they do. Other people say, oh man, I don't care if I caught 10 receptions, 500 yards, and 3 touchdowns. We lost, right? Like, that's the guy or girl that I want right there, who's about, hey, let's the team win. Because they understand, if the team wins, ultimately what's going to happen to them? They're going to win, right? And that's entrepreneurship to me.
Super well said. I don't know. Did you want to follow up on that, Josh? I was going to switch to leadership.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to switch to leadership because obviously you're leading a lot of people now, and you have multiple locations and, offices, and you're trying to lead through people. How do you keep people from leaving you? Like, a big pain point in the insurance industry is commission splits, right? Everybody's saying you can get more over here or whatever, right? You've heard it. I see you're smiling. So how do you inspire and keep your leaders going and create a culture that keeps people with you? What have you found works?
Well, one thing is, most insurance agents don't understand compensation. They just hear contract, right? That's only one part to you getting paid, right? Just carry contracts, there's target premium, there's advancement. Most agents don't know that. But the second thing, we really dive into is trust and relationship building. If you don't build relationships with your people, then they're going to leave. You know what I'm saying? It's just as simple as that. Or they feel betrayed. And then also, by the way, if you're a leader watching this, interview at whatever point, you're going to understand that some people are just not going to like you. Some people are just not going to change, and you can't change everybody. no matter what you do. You know what I'm saying? You're the devil, you're this, they'll go through the demonized phase and get stuck there, right? One thing we teach is, the three phases is the idolize, the demonize, and the humanize, which we've already all experienced with our parents, right? Growing up, we love our parents. They're our hero. Then we become teenagers, we demonize them. And then when we get out into the real world, it's like, oh crap, man, my parents was right. We go through the same thing in team and leadership building, but some people get stuck in a demonized phase, right? And then also, hey, I'm not perfect, man. I'm not Jesus. I didn't walk on water, right? And so, sometimes you got to remind people, yes, I'm sorry. I may have offended you. I may have done something that you didn't like, but forgive me. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Some people can't do that. They get stuck there.
How do you recognize when someone's going through one of those phases, and do you do anything proactively? Like if someone's stuck in that demonized phase, are you interacting or reaching out to them different than any of those other phases?
Yeah, I think in that phase when they're demonized, you got to give people their space. You got to give them 50 feet and check in on them from time to time. See if there's an end somewhere that you can get to. And sometimes it'll reveal itself and other times it won't. And then you just realize that you can't do anything with that individual or individuals anymore. You just got to let them be. And eventually they'll phase themselves out, whatever the case may be, right? Because I think sometimes too as well, leaders are afraid, or some people in the insurance industry are afraid to lose people. Sometimes you got to lose people. Some people are not good for your organization. They got to go, and so that happens. But if you've done your job as a leader, you've done your job at working to build a relationship, even if they're 1,000 miles away, then you can rest at night knowing that you've done your job, right? And also you need some books, obviously 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, right? Anything John Maxwell, anything Patrick Lencioni, right? Psycho-Cybernetics is a big book I like a lot, referring to people and leadership. All right. And so if you're constantly pouring into yourself, developing yourself and say, hey man, I made that mistake. Let me reach back out to this person and say, hey, here's what I did. Here's what I realized. I apologize. I did this 2 years ago. And then if the person still can't move on, you can't do anything with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so well said. Well, when you look back, right, because you've had 6 years and you've just crushed it, growing the business over that time. Look back to your younger self. What advice would you give your younger self? Maybe even think back to like college time frame. What advice would you give that person?
Oh, college, man. I don't know if I'd have went to college. Knowing what I know now, right? I don't know if I'd have went to college.
I agree with that, man. I tend to agree.
Yeah. But I would really tell my younger self, grow more interpersonal skills. Grow more interpersonal skills. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Be more outspoken and making relationships and meeting new people. Because we're all taught growing up not to talk to strangers, right? And it's like probably one of the worst pieces of advice you can give a person, because most of the money that you'll ever make in your lifetime will most likely be with strangers. It won't be with family, your circle of people that it'll be with strangers.
Well said.
So, I wish I had more of that growing up.
Yeah, it's super well said.
So how can people learn about the Wealth Academy? Can anybody join? Is it something that is available to everybody? How can people find out more about that?
Yes, absolutely. The Wealth Academy, you can find our website, thewealthacademy.us. You can find me, Mr. Wealth Academy, MR Wealth Academy on Instagram. You can even find my wife, Mrs. Wealth Academy, MRRS at Wealth Academy on Instagram. And then our YouTube channel is also called The Wealth Academy. So we're out there, very easy to find. It's very easy. My phone number is on my Instagram. If you need me, you can reach out to me. People actually get surprised when I answer the phone.
That's awesome, man. Ellis, thank you so much for joining us today. Great interview. If you like this interview and you want to support the show, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. We will read it here on the show. And you can get all of the show notes and the videos for this episode over at staypaidpodcast.com. If you want to get a hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram as well. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acre. Ellis, thank you so much, man, for coming on. You guys heard it here. I would encourage you listen back, because if you noticed the keys to success and you're listening to someone that's successful and has helped a bunch of people become successful, it's not rocket science. It's not, over complicated. It's just very hard to do. It takes waking up every single day, having the discipline. But one of the things that he said that I think is so powerful that I want you to take action on, because this is all about taking action, is who is the mentor that you're allowing to influence and speak truth into your life? And do you know who you're allowing to speak truth into your life? Because a lot of times you have a mentor, whether you think so or not. And it might be a book that you're reading. It might be a YouTube video that you're watching. Maybe it's not some physical person that you're interacting with. I think you should have somebody that you're interacting with. But who are you letting mentor you and guide you? Because that has a powerful effect on what you're going to be. And I would encourage you to get a mentor who has done what you want to do, who has the life that you want to have. Don't listen to somebody that doesn't have the life you want to live. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.